And today's lineup of heavy hitters for episode 2 is primed to do that and even more, because that's what Wells Fargo and the MEAC have committed to do for you, our next generation of leaders. Well, why is the MEAC involved in this? Well, for some of you who are just joining us for the very first time, you might want to know, who is the MEAC? Well, the MEAC is a consortium, a corporation of 8 of the greatest HBCUs in America, who are aligned by mission and vision. These institutions are harbored along the eastern seaboard of the United States. And for over 53 years, our job has been to educate young people. But we also now believe in the total student experience. And that's why we have competed together as an NCAA Division I athletic conference to compete and to further the goals of each institution that are winning championships and building championship lives for our student athletes. See, we compete in 14 Division I championship sports as a league, and we've been rolling in the HBCU National Championship game, better known as the Cricket Celebration Bowl. We've even begun to focus on the hottest thing smoking, and that's esports. You see, we host the MEAC Esports Championship during our annual MEAC Hoops Championship in Norfolk, Virginia. That's set again this coming March 13th through the 16th. And you ought to check that out, because not only are we going to be playing some phenomenal basketball, but we got a reunion of School Days, that great Spike Lee movie. And we're going to have old school meeting the new school. You're going to see a lot of information about that in the next couple of weeks. But one of the great MEAC institutions that we want to focus on right now is Coppin State University. It's located in Baltimore, Maryland. It's founded in 1900. The Eagles joined the MEAC in 1989. And it's a small inner city school by choice with an enrollment of just around 2,000, with a high focus on nursing, computer science, and business management. Coppin happens to be Maryland's #1 university in terms of affordability, and #7 overall by salary and grad reports, with a graduation rate of 89%. Way to go, Coppin. In my own workshops with young leaders, I often say this to them: you are the CEO of the YOU Corporation. It's your business and it's your brand. And as we focus today on mentors, sponsors, and your personal board of directors, there's no better man who will take us through this great webinar than my good friend and brother, Dewey Norwood, Wells Fargo's go-to guy for enterprise HBCU strategy and external engagement. You see, when you roll out your A team today, Dewey, with what you guys have been cooking up, these new leaders are going to feast on this knowledge. Now, Sheen and I were going to come back a little later on to handle the Q&A portion. Yes, but for now, I can't wait to see what you and this phenomenal team have in store for this next generation of corporate and civic superstars who've joined us today. So it's on you, my brother. You got it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the Lynn Thompson. You know how they say like the, and then they put that in front of the, that's the Lynn Thompson, y'all. There is no gentleman who can bring more fire than Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, honor and a privilege. Listen, we got to make a pit stop on this, though. You mentioned the MEAC basketball tournament that's coming up. But we're also just coming off of our MEAC indoor track championships. Talk to me about that for a moment.
Oh, man. Howard University and Norfolk State swept it again, man. The Howard women with the three-peat, and Norfolk State's men did the same thing. I don't know if it can get any better than that. Somebody's got to challenge them, because they are rolling. And we're talking about some tremendous times. We've got great student athletes who've already qualified for the NCAA indoor championships.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We love that. And my goodness, before we know it, we'll be in Paris for the Summer Olympic Games. And hey, maybe we have some HBCU scholars that are connecting in there in some way, shape, or form.
That's right.
So good stuff. Again, Mr. Thompson, thank you so much for setting the landscape. And listen, for the folks that are on, buckle your seatbelts, because we've got a dynamic session that we're going to be sharing here today. Again, all about mentors and sponsors and that personal board of directors that each of us must have for the work things that we want to do to be especially successful. Again, I'm Dewey Norwood, very fortunate now, going on my 26th year. Next month will be 26 years for me in financial services. Definitely blessed to be able to do that, and excited to be one of your co-hosts here for today. Hey, the next slide will just talk a little bit about Wells Fargo from the top of the house perspective. Maybe we have some folks that are joining us for the first time. $1.9 trillion in assets across our institution. 1 in 3 households here in the U.S. having a banking relationship or in some way, shape, or form with our institution. 10% of the small businesses. Maybe we have small business owners that are listening to today's broadcast. 10% of those small businesses are in some way, shape, or form engaging with our institution. And you'll see lots of other great information relative to our firm and some great accolades that the institution has been able to receive over the last few years. As we jump forward, certainly want to talk about our corporate philanthropy efforts. Huge shout out to our partners across external engagement and the Wells Fargo Foundation. You'll see their numbers represented here. In the last 12 years, everyone, over $119 million of financial support to support higher education programming holistically. If you disaggregate that number, this number now is above $40 million that has been provided and direct strategic investments into HBCUs and into programming supporting students that are attending HBCUs. So significant investments there, and we're seeing really, really great returns on our firm's investments in those areas. Hey, we love to always give you an opportunity for a bit of a product spotlight, and we'll talk about some additional things later down the line, but I do want to spotlight for us again our HBCU Legends debit card collection. You'll actually see that here on the next slide. This is a collection that is going to be 2 years old in April. And we're really excited now that we have 44 different HBCUs and HBCU partners in conjunction and connected into this program. So for any of our retail banking customers, you get your standard regular red Wells Fargo debit card, you can actually swap that out and now celebrate 44 different HBCUs and some partner organizations that are connecting in through some of our bowl games and some of our classics. So for our MEAC fans out there, make some noise. First of all, we're going to jump to our next slide. I want you all to take a great, great look at the amazing MEAC card that is here. So this is readily available for you. Again, any of our retail banking customers can go out and customize your banking experience and go ahead and jump in and grab this amazing debit card to use for your purchases. So great, great things here. Really, really excited about those pieces of the puzzle. Along those lines, you heard Mr. Thompson mention a little bit earlier, Spike Lee joint, right? And the connectivity around school days and how that's going to be a key component of the MEAC basketball tournament. I'm happy to present to you all another really, really exciting piece that connects in the HBCU space. I'm going to ask our friends in the chat on here. If you are familiar with what you see on the screen, A Different World, I want anybody that's out there that's in the chat to type the name in of a portion of the show that you've seen or one of the characters from this particular show. I know many of you all were probably not old enough to watch these when the show first started, but you're now able to see these online. And so we're really excited to announce Wells Fargo as the official financial services provider, the premier financial services provider for the A Different World HBCU tour. Really excited about some programming that's going to be taking place in Atlanta next week on February the 29th, and some additional programming that will be taking place at Howard University, MEAC School. Really excited about some programming we'll be doing at Howard here in the month of April, and then a 1-2 punch down in Alabama with some time at Alabama State and also some time out at Tuskegee. So the QR code on the screen will take you out to the webpage where you can learn more about this particular tour. And hey, if you don't see your college or university represented there, be sure to reach out to the team and tell them, hey, we'd love to have you coming to our respective colleges and universities with things. So you all are the first to hear about this. This is the first time that we've shared this in a public space. I want to give a huge shout out to Chuck Bishop and to Wanda K. Brady, our great internal partners that are managing this work. And so A Different World Tour kicking off here in just about a week. All right, with that said, we're going from a different world to a different group of leaders. And what I will say, team, and you'll see their information here on the next slide, we've brought together leaders that are really have been there, right? They've had the experiences and they're really going to be able to share some of their best practices and some of the things that have helped them along their corporate journey. So we've got Ayanna Collins, we've got Chris Spence with us, we've got Liesl Sullivan, and last but not least, Shalane Carter. These leaders boast a significant number of years of experience, significant number. And I think we're probably almost at a triple-digit number across all of their backgrounds and experiences. So we really want to make sure that we leverage the information that they're going to share as they connect in with things here for today. So by action item, first of all, please go ahead and get connected in with them. Click on those links there to be connected to them via LinkedIn. And then in turn, we can continue to stay engaged with them in the days ahead. So with that said, I'm going to ask, I think, Shalane and Chris to maybe come on to take a moment to talk through our agenda for things for the day. And then I think we've all even got some polling components that we're going to connect in with. So Chris, Shalane, want to give you all the reins from here to take us through our content. We'll let you all take it away.
All right, excellent. Thanks so much, Julie. I do appreciate the handoff. And
yes,
so let's go through the agenda, kind of set expectations for what we want to share with you today. So going through, we have sponsor versus mentor. We're going to talk about reimagining your development. We're going to give you some context around setting up yourself for success. Talk about the spectrum of relationships, maximizing the mentor versus sponsor relationships, and then engaging mentors and attracting sponsors. And then finally, we're going to close out with some more content around the law of connection. So speaking of the law of connection, let's kick it off with a poll. Who has a mentor or sponsor now or has leveraged one in the past? So is it A, I have a mentor, B, I have a sponsor, C, I have a mentor and or sponsor, D, I'm not sure if I have a mentor or sponsor, and then E, I don't have a mentor or sponsor. So we'll spend a few minutes and go through, and please indicate your answer in the polling question there. All right, so what are we seeing there?
Looks like we're still tabulating a couple of them on this side. So let's see if we see any of those results coming in. Okay. Chris, it's always interesting. Yeah, we're seeing some folks responding with, yes, they have a mentor. Interesting here. Yep. Okay. Several folks saying, yep, they have a mentor. I'm going to give this just another 5 seconds. And feel free to utilize that chat, team. We see some responses coming in there. Okay. Interestingly, some folks that say they don't have a mentor or a sponsor right now. So, Chris, obviously, based upon these results, they're in the right place, man. And this means that you immediately sign up as their mentor and sponsor. I want to get that on the record, too. Is that the way that this works?
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree with you more there, Dewey. I think it's great that those of you who already have identified a mentor and or sponsor, those that have not, we're going to give you some information to get you on the right path, and hopefully you'll be able to start to look at the folks in your immediate circle of influence and identify individuals that would fit those criteria for either a mentor or sponsor, and then we'll give you some guidelines on how to manage expectations with those relationships. So let's now talk about the law of connection. When you interact with people, the heart must come before the head, be you sponsor or mentor or mentee. And in short, what that's saying is people tend to want to connect with individuals that they have something in common with, or there's some natural affinity. And so what you want to do is seek out individuals in your immediate circle of influence that fit some of those different criteria, and hopefully they can help you navigate some of the challenges related to your work environment, or as you have career or goal aspirations around work, or even life expectations. They can help you to navigate some of those challenges ahead. All right, let's talk about the difference between a mentor versus sponsor. We've used those terms either separately or interchangeably, and now we're going to talk and give context around that. So a mentor may or may not be someone that you know very well. So again, some of you are signing up to work with us here and have us serve as a mentor. This will be the bridge to connect us. But over time, you will see that the difference is with a sponsor is that they know the individual very well and they actually believe in that individual. So there's definitely a more intimate connection there between the sponsor as opposed to just a mentor. A mentor will support your developmental goals in a variety of ways. The mentor will also provide straightforward feedback and input. And when you compare that to a sponsor is actually going to endorse you. They're going to speak to other individuals on your behalf. So they're going to give recommendations, maybe for promotions, or if you're applying for scholarships, or you're applying for jobs within a given company and you need a letter of recommendation. This is someone who knows you a little bit more intimately. They have more background information on you, so they'll be able to really speak to your character as a reference. So that's very important as you build out your board of directors, your personal board of directors. You want to think about different roles that individuals can play in that capacity. Also, that sponsor is going to be willing to take the risk for you as an individual. They're putting their name on the line when they endorse you with other friends and colleagues in their circle. So they're promoting you in their circle of influence. And sometimes they're actually speaking on your behalf in your absence. And that's very important to know as you manage expectations with that relationship. Now, a mentoring partnership could turn into a sponsor relationship over time, but it should not be expected from the beginning. So give that relationship time to nurture and mature, and that mentor relationship, hopefully, if it's managed properly, will eventually evolve into a sponsor relationship. Next slide. So with this, I'll ask the question of you, Ayanna. What's the most important part of your growth and development?
Thank you so much, Chris, and thank you so much for joining. And it's great to see all of you all as a proud HBCU graduate. And I'm extremely excited to be able to speak to you all today. But you see the polling question that's in front of you today. So what's the most important part of your growth and development? And we ask that you put all of your responses, either A, B, or C, within the chat. And I'm going to ask either Dewey or Chris, whomever can see the poll, to let me know what some of your responses are. Unfortunately, I can't see the chat, so I can't immediately react.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Ayanna. We'll give it just a moment as some of those items are coming in here. So
absolutely. So while those responses are coming in, this question, had you asked me this question while I was in college, it would be C, no doubt. But as I started to gain experience, my responses started to change. So I would love to see, as we're seeing in the chat, what are some of your thoughts right now?
Yeah, Ayanna, it's very interesting getting a lot of those folks chiming in with A, saying it's the experiences that are the most important. Smattering here and there of a couple of folks saying B, but also a handful of folks saying both A and C. So they're coupling the experiences with the work that they're doing on their respective campuses. So it's some interesting breakouts here, and a couple of folks that have said looks like A and B as well. So it looks like there's a tandem here. I'm waiting for somebody to say A, B, and C.
All of the above. And you know what? It really can be all of the above. And that's a great segue into the next slide. It's just to really show the breakdown of where you should be thinking and focusing your time as you're going through school. So let's not pay really like a lot of attention to the percentages that you see on the screen, but pay more attention to just how wide the blocks are. So the majority of your time, those who answered A, you nailed it, is that it should be on your experiences. Yes, your program and your courses are very important in terms of what you're learning in the classroom. What are you learning self-study? Some of those certificates that you're able to gain on some other virtual platforms. But it's really about how can you show that you can put all those things that you've learned into action, right? And that will allow recruiters, hiring managers, peers to see all of the skills that you possess and feel comfortable with putting you into a role and knowing that you will exceed. Same thing. The second biggest block is your relationship. So those who said A and B are correct. Those who said B are also correct. It's that you've got to start thinking about your relationships. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about mentoring, coaching, and what that means and how you can utilize that to help not only advance yourself while in college, but once you start working in the corporate world. So let's go to the next slide and let's just dive in a little bit deeper. So the best way to set yourself up for success is to really have a plan, right? You just can't go at it and just haphazardly and just think it'll kind of come to me. You have to know why. Why do you need a mentor? Why do you need someone to sponsor you? So when you think about your why, it's what are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to be a CEO of your own company? Are you trying to be the next executive vice president at this tech firm? Are you trying to be a lawyer and become partner at some sort of firm? So you really need to understand your why and what are the best ways to achieve your goals. So is it through relationship building? Is it through joining a professional organization? Is it through your online coursework? Or you need to have set up a portfolio that shows your coding experience, your website experience, your design experience? So really start thinking about your why. And then once you have your why, you're able to move on and start really clarifying what success looks like. And then and then also when you think about success, you want to also know, like, what are you known for? What experiences do you have on your resume? What can you truly talk to? What sort of results have you achieved? And then you also want to, of course, think about, and we talk about it a lot, and I know as college students you hear it a lot, but it's about your image and your brand. And that is, what will people say about you when you're not in the room? That's your image and that is your brand. And that's what's really going to help you set up your ability to find and maintain mentors as well as your sponsors. So we can go on to the next slide. Perfect. Thank you so much. And so I know this slide right here has a lot for you to digest, but here I want you to key in on these keywords: develop, assess, address, improve, and execute. You have to work your plan or plan your work and then work your plan. So you have to develop your career plan. Most people say, my life coach, career coach, therapist, you name it, she's all of the above, said that we spend more time planning our brunch, our date night, whatever, than we do our own career. So really start to think about where you want to go. What does that look like for you? And then you can start assessing, what skills do I need? What skills do I currently have? What skills do I need in order to achieve that first career goal? And then if you're realizing that there are some gaps, then you can address those. So do I need to go on to Coursera? Do I need to take a different course? Do I need to shadow people that are in the industry that I'm looking to go in? Do I need to find an internship in a particular field to gain that experience that I need to have in order for me to transition from college to corporate? And then once you do that, it improves your visibility. You know, you can go through and make sure that your social media, whether it be LinkedIn, Instagram, yes, we do check Instagram as recruiters, and just see, does your social presence mirror what you want someone in the corporate world to see and think about you? Same thing if you're thinking about owning your own business. Does your social presence mirror exactly what you want your customers to see, your future investors to see and know about you as well? Once you've done steps 1 through 4, step 5 is to execute and as well as to monitor. If you don't monitor, how will you know you will be successful? And so let's go on and let's dive a little bit deeper into that career plan and what it might look like. So again, a lot to digest on this slide, but just think about the next 4 jobs that you would like to have, or what is that career progression look like from you? Is it you starting off as an analyst that moves to a senior engineer, principal, whatever those titles are? You want to have some sort of sense of what that looks like and what are those required qualifications and those desired qualifications. So you can do that by looking at job descriptions of the job that you're currently looking to apply to versus one that could be potentially 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road and beyond. Again, I don't want you to get hyper focused on those 0 to 2 year, 3+ year timeline, because it may look a little different for you. You may be in their first job for longer than 2 years. You may be there for shorter than 2 years. But it's all about getting those desired and required qualifications for you to make that jump to the next career. So don't feel like you're behind schedule if you're not in that next promotion or your next job within those 2 years. Things will look different for you, but don't feel like you're behind as long as you're moving in the right direction. And so let's go to the next slide. And so the next slide, when it pops up, is where I really want you to, if you're multitasking, put that phone down, or actually take a picture of this slide right here, because this is your strategic plan. This is how you're going to execute all of those slides that I showed previously. Simply write them down. If you write down your plan, it will come to fruition, right? You've heard that said in many different ways, but this is truly true, a fact, and you should really pay attention to is really understanding who you are, your passions, where you want to go in life. What's your strategic plan? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? All those jobs that you accumulated or have done over the course of your college career, high school career, they mean something. And those skills that you've obtained, whether it be in retail or whether it be in customer service, some other customer service profession, they all define who you are, and they all really will help you as you are developing along the way and as you're trying to showcase your skills. Then once you've done that assessment, again, you want to put your plan into action and just start addressing any types of skills that you need to obtain, education that you may need to obtain. What kind of degree do you need? Do you need an advanced degree outside of your bachelor's in order to achieve your goal? So again, I'm going to pause here for just a second before we go to the next slide so you can get a really good look at this, because this is great work here.
Okay. Yana, there's a lot that's included on this slide. How would you encourage the scholars to, taking that picture, they've got a screen grab over, how do they go about addressing this one, especially if they don't have maybe the supports that are there? Talk us through it one more time.
Sure, absolutely. So start off on your far left-hand side. Mm-hmm. Who are you? And just say, what are your passions? What do you want to achieve? And be more specific than I just want to help people or I just want to make money, right? Really start thinking about if you had to work from 8 to 5 or 8 to 10, depending on the type of job that you're in, what would you do every day? Or what are some of the job duties, some of your responsibilities that would make you happy and help you feel fulfilled in that potential career? Where do you see yourself being the most successful? And then when you do that, you start thinking about your education, you work your way down. And then say, okay, I'm getting a bachelor's in psychology. I'm getting a master's in business management. This is going to help me work my plan. Or then you look at your employment history. Absolutely. I may not have a particular internship because I've had to work to pay my way through school, but those types of jobs will definitely help you because you have time management skills. You've had relationship management skills that you've built over the course of your employment career, and that you need to jot them down. And so instead of just putting down customer service or whatever you have down, mentor or coach, put down the skills that you've learned and who you've helped and what peers that you help teach a new skill to, whether it be learning how to work the cash register or encourage your teammates, if you're part of a team, to take practice more seriously. So just, again, don't limit yourself when you're writing down on all of those different areas on the left-hand side, and that will then help you become more strategically focused when you're starting to work on that right-hand side and filling all of that in.
Great stuff. And it'll change over time. It seems like there's a continuum with this, right? If you fill this out 2 years into your career versus 15 years into your career, it may look and feel a little bit different. So, wow, this is a great resource here. Thank you for providing this one.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
And so as we go to the next slide, so absolutely, thank you so much for that. When you see this slide pull up, you'll see at the very bottom the spectrum of your level of personal investment in building these relationships. As Chris mentioned before, the difference between mentoring and sponsoring is someone that can come in and help with feedback, advice on certain projects. Your sponsor is the one that will advocate for you, that will truly speak for you and say, I feel that Ayanna is the right person for this job or for this project, and will be there to promote you and to accelerate you into your next career or next job, next line, next career. And those relationships take a lot of time. So this is not just a LinkedIn friendship or a LinkedIn connection where you are sharing thoughts and ideas via social media. But this is more of a long-term relationship build. You have to get comfortable with them. They have to become comfortable with you. They have to see your success over a period of time. You just can't come in today and say, hey, I want this job tomorrow. I saw it on the job board. Will you talk to them about me? And, the sponsor will say, no, no, no. What have you done in the past? And let's figure out if you're ready for this next step. And so that also, you have to be able to take great feedback, positive feedback, as well as constructive feedback, and implement some of the feedback that you've given into, whether it be coursework, experience, learnings, anything. So be sure to, listen and listen in. So all of these areas are just as important, but just in terms, again, what we're trying to drive home here is that there's going to be, some of these are short build relationships, and some of these are going to be your long-term relationships that build and develop over time. And so now we're going to transition into talking about, well, you talked about how important a mentor is. You talked about how important a sponsor is. How do we find that mentor and sponsor? And Shalane, I think you're up. And so why don't you just share with the group, how did you find your mentor? How did you find your sponsors along the way?
Thanks, Ayana. And before I answer that question, we're on a call with our MEAC partners. And so I have to give a shout out to my husband, Dan, who's a graduate of Morgan State University's School of Business, the Earl G. Graves School of Business and Management. So if there's any Morgan State Bears on here, give me a shout out in the chat. But on to this question about how to identify my mentors and sponsors. I think for me personally, it's been important to identify a mentor that is either in an industry or field or a role that I'm trying to get into. And especially when I'm new into a new organization or new to a role, it can be a critical relationship to build and find and secure a good mentor to help you along the way. And I've been fortunate enough, when you perform well and you're ambitious, and people see that, a lot of times your sponsor might just gravitate toward you, and it'll be an advocate that you're not even sometimes aware that you have. So they're the person that is, elevating you in conversations that you're not in rooms that you're not in. And so opportunities will come your way that way too. So I've been fortunate to have some sponsors along the way in my career. And so on this slide, on the roadmap to finding mentors and sponsors, it's key to research players in your business or industry, and mentors can be peers, they can be partners, they don't necessarily have to be senior leaders. You can look at professional organizations, people that you meet at social events, conferences, trainings, they can all become your mentor. But it's really having that person that you can solicit feedback from, and they'll communicate with you, they'll give you advice, guidance. It's important to have a clear and communication, to be open and honest with your mentor. You should be able to communicate freely, both ways. And of course, you want to be respectful of their time. So once you've identified that mentor, you want to come prepared to any conversation and meeting with a goal in mind, a goal for the overall relationship. What do you plan to achieve out of the conversation or relationship you have with your mentor? And then afterwards, you definitely want to reflect on how the relationship has benefited you and share that information with your mentor. Next slide, please. So on the next slide, here's an acronym to help you think about how to maximize your mentor and sponsor relationships. It's FILLL, FILL. So first, for the find, it requires some self-reflection. Think through what your talents are, your passions, and what are the organizational needs. And so the connection point where these intersect is your sweet spot. And after you've identified your experiences that align to your sweet spot, you want to leverage those experiences to build new and diverse relationships. And then you want to leverage the spectrum of those relationships. Meaning, that's where you want to be able to have guidance provided to you, feedback, someone to support your success. And as I previously mentioned, mentors can be peers, partners, leaders, different people that you interact with. So leverage the spectrum of all of those relationships as well. And then finally, you want to leverage courses. It's important to continue to grow professionally, personally. So you want to expand and supplement your knowledge and expertise through courses or trainings. It might even be certifications to help you stand out in your field or industry. Next slide, please. And on the next slide, when you're initially trying to set up your mentor or sponsor conversation, for any introductory conversations, you want to be able to present yourself by describing your interests, passions, and accomplishments. So think through having an elevator speech or a pitch, which is a quick, concise way of conveying this information to your mentor or sponsor. So it should be 30 seconds, maybe no longer than a minute. But who are you? Also, what do you want to gain through the relationship? It would help the mentor, you want to ask questions that show you're eager to learn about their background and to gain insights. Express your desired outcomes. What do you hope to achieve from this relationship? And ensure that you both agree. The mentor needs to know what you're trying to gain out of the relationship, but also you want to make sure that they can actually provide the guidance and support and feedback that you're requesting in this relationship. So you have to agree on that. And it's very important to determine the logistics. How often will you meet with your mentor or sponsor? How will you meet? Is it going to be virtual? Are there going to be in-person sessions? And also the preferred method of contact in case you need to reach out outside of your scheduled meetings. So, can you text them? Do they prefer email? Can you call them when you need it? When you really need some real-time feedback or advice on a situation, make sure you cover those bases. And next slide, please. And now I'm going to turn it over to Liesl. And Liesl, we'd be happy to hear words of wisdom on mentor and sponsor relationships.
Thank you so much, Shalane. I definitely have some words of wisdom to offer. I have throughout the course of my career, I have been a mentor a lot. I've had lots of mentees, some that I ended up becoming sponsors of. So earlier in the presentation, we talked a bit about how a mentor could become a sponsor if they get to know you well over a period of time and start to understand the value of your work and the quality of your work. They might be willing to sponsor you and stick their neck out a bit for you. So this has been a key theme for me because I'm very passionate about helping people achieve their goals. Anytime I take on a mentoring relationship, I'm making a choice to spend time with my mentee. And that means there's something else that I need to be doing that I'm going to put off, right? I'm going to work a little extra at night or on a weekend, et cetera, so I can make time for my mentee because I'm passionate about it. It's important to me. And so when you have a mentor, think about that this person is taking time away from something else that they should be doing to spend time with you. So you want to make sure that you're making the most of that relationship and thinking of their time as a gift. So a few ways that you can really make that real for you is, first contribute to the relationship, right? You are driving this agenda. Your mentor is not driving the agenda. It is all you. So know what you want from the relationship up front and ask for what you need from them. But also you can ask them what you could do for them. We have a concept at Wells Fargo sometimes called reverse mentoring, where we believe that a mentor also can learn from a mentee. There's new perspectives that you can bring to the table. Asking a mentor what they're working on and then learning a little bit about that so you could offer some perspective could be a great way to really give back in the mentoring relationship. Think about when they're giving you homework or asking you to dig into something or research something or go away and think about something and bring back information, take it seriously. Really do the work, put in the work. You are owning your own success, really. Your mentor can help you and really support you. But at the end of the day, it is your work and it is your success. So own your success and take credit for your success. Your mentor is not doing the hard work in the relationship. That's really you. I said we're taking our time to make sure to support your success. So respect the time, right? Come prepared. Know and share your goals with your mentor. Ask them for ideas about things that you could bring for discussion. Where are their sweet spots? What are they really good at that you'd like to learn more from or about? So ask them for those ideas. And then, of course, make sure you're putting in the time so that you can make sure you're successful and that you're valuing their time. You want to also be authentic, be honest with your mentor, but also, I think, almost more importantly, honest with yourself. You really have to know and be reflective about what you're good at and those suggestions that may not work just right for you, where you might want to ask for another idea because maybe you've got to work through some introversion and you might need some more tips and tricks. So be authentic about it. I think the biggest thing, though, right, and is why I've continued to have these mentoring relationships that have turned into sponsorships, is because my mentor made it fun. They had fun with the relationship. They created more of a personal dynamic with me, shared not just about their goals with regard to work and study and those kinds of things, but also, something about who they are as a person so that we could really connect on that level and have some fun together as we have that relationship. It should be an enjoyable and positive experience to have a mentor. So let's reflect a little bit on this concept. We have another question for you to answer, and I'd love for you to go into the chat. Go in the chat as well and chat up a little bit about, what's resonating for you? What advice that you're hearing throughout this presentation is really sinking in for you? What could you potentially take and turn into action for yourself? Load some of that in the chat as well. But also, if you'll respond to the polling question, just to tell us, listening to this presentation, how clear are you about how a mentor or a sponsor can support you in achieving your goals? And Dewey, I think you might be able to see the responses. So I'd love for you to share some of what you're seeing.
So Lisa, thank you for this. And we're seeing some responses come in here, seeing some agrees so far. So it looks like we're getting lots of positives here up to this point. Yeah, another agree here on this side. Yep. Looks like we're over-indexing on agrees, which is a good thing, right? Which is a good thing. So some interesting pieces here. Hey, I know you've got some other items that you want to touch on here. I want to let you keep rolling, and I want to throw you a little bit of curveball. At least and I go way back, y'all. So it's an easy curveball when I throw it to you. So let me let you continue with this, and then I want to pick your brain on another topic that I think may be top of mind for the folks on today.
Sure. Well, let's go ahead and pull up the next slide.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we have some resources that we would direct you to. So I want you to think about, I'm sure you all are experts in Google, right? And you can get out there and find some resources of your own, but we've curated a few, right? Things that we've really found to be helpful. Now Discover Your Strengths, which is a Marcus Buckingham and Donald Clifton book. That is a duo that used to be with the Gallup organization. And I'll tell you, you can dig a little bit more with Marcus Buckingham and find some TED Talks and other talks he's given. I've had the pleasure of seeing him speak live. He has a great accent, but really brings the concepts to life. So I would get that book. I would also look for additional content by Marcus Buckingham. He is really good. Strength Finders is something that we've used throughout the years at Wells Fargo, a lot of other organizations that I've worked with. And I've been with Wells Fargo almost 20 years. So I might be dating myself, but I've used it in other organizations as well. And it's a great tool. It really does help you not identify. It's not like a Myers-Briggs or a DISC. It's not a personality type indicator. It's really about helping you hone in on what are you really good at? What are your strengths that you could turn into talents, right? Extraordinary Leader is a great book that we recommend. We use a lot of the competencies from Extraordinary Leader at Wells Fargo to really drive the behaviors that we're looking for from leaders. I think Own Your Room as well. Great book to refer to help you develop your own personal power, right? How Great Leaders Inspire Action. Simon Sinek is a fabulous presenter on TED Talks. He has oodles. Oodles is a proprietary word that I use. Oodles of TED Talks that you could see. He's very engaging, uses a lot of analytical data to really support some of his theories, which I really like and appreciate. Emotional intelligence is something you need to pay attention to, because all the things you're learning in school and the things you've learned in life aren't going to convey unless you have the emotional intelligence to connect with people and really make it real in your day-to-day work. And then first, make your bed, really understanding those core things that you got to get right to get permission and opportunity to do the things you really want to do. So these are great resources, but I would also suggest that dig in, use some keywords, Google, especially digging in on TED Talks and finding those quick snippets that you can listen to quickly. Podcasts as well would be great for you to really dig into and pay attention.
So Liesl, great information there. And scholars, you've got some action items and some homework to do. And let's use that chat feature again. You guys are doing a great job with chat. Maybe drop something into the chat that's something that you use, a resource that you would maybe want to pass along to others. I think that may be helpful. Hey, listen, I think the rest of the panel is going to come on, because in a moment we're going to transition into the Q&A with things. But Liesl, I'm not letting you off the hook. I got to give you that tough one, because
right.
this is a real one, friend. So.
Right.
Is it possible, and you can phone a friend if you need to on this one, is it possible that you have an expiration date with a mentorship relationship or with a sponsor relationship, or is it supposed to last forever and ever and ever and ever and ever? Please talk about that.
Yes, 100%. Dewey, all mentoring relationships have an expiration date, right? All of them do. Really, at the beginning of the relationship, you should contract for what that is. Now, you know, when you go in the pantry and something's expired, but you know it's still going to be good, maybe you just need to put it in the oven and crisp it up a little bit. There are a lot of mentors that might say, I know our agreement has expired, but I think we're making good progress and I'd love to help you out some more. So let's extend. That's something you as a mentee can ask for, certainly. Ask for what you need, right? Ask for what you need. But also sometimes a mentor will say, let's keep it going. Always give them the opportunity to end it, though. Always say to the mentor, I know that we contracted to have this mentor-mentee relationship through April. April's coming up, so I want to make sure that we're talking about how to close out our relationship. And I'd really be open to extending it if that's something you could commit to as well. Give them that chance to move on, because they might want to mentor someone else. They might want to make sure that they're having the opportunity to touch as many lives as possible. That's what some people are drawn to, and some people are drawn to go deep with one person. So make sure that you're giving them the chance to do what's best for them. So there's always an expiration date. Sometimes you could extend it a little bit.
Okay, fair enough. And listen, I told you it was a curveball. She didn't know that one was coming, but she's known long enough that we're going to ask things. Ayanna, Shalane, Chris, want to give you all space if there's anything you want to touch on here, and then we got to get Lynn and Sheena back on so they can put you on the hot seat. I mean, so they can present the best and the brightest questions. Ayanna, Chris, Shalane, anything you all want to touch on that one, like mentorship kind of approach there? And maybe you've had an instance where, hey, I was in a mentoring relationship and it wasn't quite right, and so we had to press the exit button a little bit early. Please.
Yeah, I'll just echo something that Ayanna said. I thought was really insightful. She touched on the spectrum of relationship-based career growth, and many of you, as recent college graduates or still in that matriculation phase, you're building out your network, you're building out your circle of influence. And so I would encourage you to use tools like LinkedIn and not just connect with us as presenters and professionals in this space, but then take a look at some of our relationships, some of the folks that we've connected with over the years in our LinkedIn profile. You'll be able to read through some of the folks that are our first tier connections and see some of the things that they're engaged in. And if there's an opportunity for us to speak into your life and give you guidance on maybe how you can approach that individual, or like we talked about, going from mentor to sponsor, being in a situation where we can feel comfortable endorsing you with some of those connections over time, is a way for you to build out your game plan as you look to how you want to attack this opportunity to continue to grow your professional career. So that would be something I would give you as a takeaway.
Chris, we love it. Ayanna, Shalane, give us a point maybe on this one, and then we're going to bring on Mr. Thompson and Sheena for the next phase of the Q&A. And scholars, as a reminder, keep doing what you're doing. Keep dropping those items into the chat. And you all know our rules. We are never, under any circumstances, going to read your name, but we will be able to take thematically down some of the things that you're sharing. So keep dropping those things in. Ayala, I'm picking on you next because you've been nodding your head a lot, so I know you got something to share.
No, I tell you what, Liesl and Chris just shared it perfectly. And I don't necessarily have anything else to add. I'm very curious to hear from all of the other participants. Like, what are your thoughts? Where are you now after listening to this presentation? So I will yield my time, as they say, over to Shalane.
Like that. I like that.
The only thing I would say is, Dewey, you asked about if it's not a good fit. I think if you are in a mentor relationship, if it's a formal program and you feel like it's not a good fit, always be gracious because the person did invest some time and energy into the relationship.
Sure.
But you can always gracefully bow out of something that does not align and does not agree and is not a good fit. And if it's a formal program, maybe you can ask the program manager for a different mentor. If it's an informal relationship, thank them for their time, but then you might have to research somebody else that is a better fit and make that outreach. But you can always, bow out of the relationship, be gracious. You don't want to burn any bridges. You want to stay connected and in good graces with people, but you can find someone that's a better fit for you personally.
So, Shalane, thanks for closing us out on this topic. Some great pieces there. A couple of items, and I'm going to go ahead and ask Lynn and Sheena to come back on. There's just really some interesting pieces that have come in here into the chat.
Yeah.
Lynn, I'll let you kind of you and Sheena touch on any of the items that are here. Love the suggestion that one of the scholars provided around just utilizing your public library, utilizing, Canopy and other resources that are out there, and even some local resources that you can plug into on the social media side. So some interesting pieces here. I want to give it to you all here. We've got a good few minutes for some Q&A. So Sheena, Mr. Thompson, please, want to give it to you all. Please start with a thought.
Yeah, I think before Sheena even dives in on some of the questions, I just reading some of them and hearing some of the information that's being shared, we've got some young people that are already probably ahead of the curve, and
Yes,
I'm anxious to hear some of the questions that Sheena is going to raise, but more importantly, some of the comments that are also gonna be in response to the questions. We've got a pretty robust group of people here who are anxious. I think they understand the question about when the mentee and the mentor relationship isn't working. How do you get out of? How do you back out of it gracefully? Is a very mature question to raise, and how we do exit that relationship the right way is something that we've really got to do the right way. And I think that information to be shared is something that you can take for the rest of your career. So Sheena, what do we have?
Before we even get into the questions, I wanted to make a comment or say some things just on my personal end.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a recent graduate of North Carolina Central, and for me, creating my network and creating an opportunity to be mentored, to be shadowed, I was able to participate in the MEAC basketball tournament a couple years ago. That's coming up soon, and I seen this beautiful lady. She had beautiful braids, and she just had all these beautiful colors. And I thought, oh my gosh, she's just so cool. She seemed very cool, not knowing that she's the commissioner of the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. But I just decided to say, hey, I want to take a picture with her. I think she's just so cool. She just had it together. And for me, I felt like every time I saw her, I would take a picture. And I said, Commissioner Steeles, I feel like you're the coolest person I've ever seen in my life. How can I get next to you? And ever since then, I was creating a relationship with the commissioner. So now I can say that I'm an intern and I work with Commissioner Steeles and create an environment where I was able to work at the MEAC and I get to meet more cool people like Mr. Lynn and Randy. And so just creating the opportunity to just take a picture went a long way where I never thought my life would ever be, or where I would be in a seat and be in places that probably 2 years ago I never thought I would be. So I wanted to put that plug in and to thank, Commissioner Steeles for always, taking those pictures with me and, creating the opportunity to be mentored and to be able to meet other people in this industry that I'm currently in now.
Great point. Great point.
A question that was in the chat is, how can you start the initial, I know you guys mentioned the initial conversation with that mentor, but how do you kind of make time for your mentor? What is different words or different, how can you set up a meeting with your mentor or sponsor? How does that initial conversation, go about? And anybody can take this
Start.
one.
Who was that? I'm sorry. What's the name?
Question in the chat.
Okay, so I can start. So I think a couple of us have mentioned being prepared, and you may not know what questions you want to ask. It's like you don't know what you don't know. But if you maybe just initially ask them, tell me about yourself, tell me about your career. What are some challenges that you've had along the way? What are some failures that you've had along the way? I feel like we all grow from learning from our failures and things that didn't go as planned. Like I initially majored in school, I thought I was going to be a medical doctor. Clearly, that's not where I ended up, but I love the path that I took. And don't be so hard on yourself. If your path is not, completely vertical, sometimes you have to go down, sideways. Don't be afraid of a lateral change or transition. But I think just starting out and asking your mentor for information about them, was this the career path that you always chose? Who were your mentors? What did they teach you? What do you think I can learn from you? And sometimes just conversationally, the goal will form itself and you'll start to see, just like as you mentioned, Sheena, the person that you saw, she radiated something that you were gravitating towards. It was an energy, an aura about her. And so sometimes it just happens like that, organically and naturally, that somebody you just gravitate towards because something's pulling you in that direction. So you don't have to be completely formulaic about it and super prepared and over prepared, but conversationally, just talk about where do you want to go and more about yourself, and it will develop along the way. And then they'll pick up on where they think they can help you.
I'll add to that a little bit, Shalane. I think about a lot of the people that I've mentored and how they found me. And a number of the people that I've mentored actually worked with someone that they knew, in a college setting, a college professor, or in a work setting, a manager or a leader you're working on a project with, and said, hey, I feel like I need a mentor and here's what I'm looking for. Could you help me find one? And so their advocate would reach out to me and say, I've met this person who would like to have a mentor, and I think you would be a good fit for them based on what they're looking for help with. Would you be open to being their mentor? That's a great way to set up the mentoring relationship because you know that your mentor has had a formal ask, they've agreed to it, they've said they would be willing to dedicate their time to working with you. So if you're a little more nervous about just reaching out and trying to establish that for yourself, ask for someone's help. Someone that you trust, someone that's willing to support you with this. If that's not something that you have available, or if you're comfortable just setting it up for yourself, I think it goes into that category of ask for what you want. You can always, and people have done this with me, they've just come to me and said, hey, I learned a little bit about you. I find your career to be very interesting. I'm curious about how you got where you are. I'd love to learn some from you. Would you be willing to have a mentoring relationship with me? I'd love to meet with you a couple times a month. Is that something you'd be open to? It's very flattering to get that kind of reach out. So I think, for in large part, people will tell you, yes, I'm happy to meet with you a couple times a month. And then if you come prepared and really have your agenda and have your act together, then you really turn this into a true mentoring relationship, and you contract for the amount of time you're looking for and what you'd like to get out of it. And that will really help make sure you have good structure so that you can make the most of it.
Jelena made a good point earlier about, wanting to be a medical doctor and changing course, and that's not what she's doing now. Is it okay to have mentors or sponsors that are not in, the realm of what you want to do? I know for me, I've always wanted to be an attorney, and now I work in athletics. So is it okay to have that, in your back pocket, of some people who may not necessarily are in the same career path as you, but also just want to be, the words of wisdom and just give, positive vibes on, just life in general?
Short answer is yes. Absolutely. Just like Shalane, like I have a master's in epidemiology and I'm in talent acquisition. So I have along the way have mentors that were in the profession I thought I was going in, and then those that were not. And I think what the overall thing is you should be looking from is your mentor is the ability to grow no matter where that is. So you can grow in your particular skill set that you need for the industry that you want to be in, but those soft skills as well. So practicing public speaking with your mentor. Say, I have this presentation coming up. Will you just help me do a dry run? Let me know where I can make some enhancements. Or with your writing, hey, I'm writing this thesis or I'm writing this article. Will you just check and make sure that it makes sense to someone who was new to the writing that, whatever I'm creating? So yes, absolutely. It does not have to be someone in your industry. They do not have to pinpoint exactly where you want to go. It's just that you want to find someone that will invest good knowledge into you as well. So anybody that can help you grow.
There's another question. Somebody had asked, is it too forward to have a transactional conversation? I know at times maybe it's, hard to be kind of personal with people, genuine with people. So is it okay to kind of state, your purpose, state what you want instead of having a genuine, intimate, kind of close conversation? I know times that people may not necessarily, I'm not gonna say they like the person, but sometimes they want to just have, get out of the relationship, either going to the next level or, just trying to get that mentorship. How does that look like, either having a transactional, you get out of something, I get out of something, or having genuine, relations with your mentor?
Sheena's bringing the real ones today, y'all.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sheena, I would say yes, you can be transactional. But what I would say is that sometimes it helps to preface it, I would say, and to kind of say something like, hey, I'm really focused on what I want to get out of this mentoring relationship, and it's helpful for me to use a lot of structure. It keeps me on task. It ensures that I'm covering my goals. So I hope you don't mind if I really stick to my structure and I have a very planful approach for how I want to talk through things with you and what I need from you. Does that work? And if that person says, yes, absolutely, that works, then you're good to go. Now you can be as transactional as you want to be. You've contracted for that. So I think a little bit of contracting up front really helps you have comfort in your style and what you're going to do.
And I'll add to that. Early on in the presentation, we talked about the law of connection. And I think even if you're going to have some structure to the conversation, that you still want to connect with them on a personal level so that it's not so transactional that it becomes dismissive. And I think that is a balancing act, right? It's difficult not knowing context how to explain that, but just remember that they're people and, and they're taking time out of their schedule as well to invest into you. And that level of investment correlates to the level of engagement. And that's where we go from mentor to sponsor, right? So think through that in your delivery and in your engagement with them, with the ultimate goal, as you identify individuals that you want to lock in with, that they share that feeling towards you and wanting to lock in with you and help you take your career to the next level as well.
Great point. Sheena, we got any more questions?
We have one more last question. Somebody in the chat asked about, a lot of times we may not be able to go to historical institutions. And some of us, do go to predominantly white institutions. How do you find somebody who caters to you, or people that are like-minded with you, may not be able to go to a HBCU? Or how do you find those opportunities where you find people that are kind of aligned with you that are not able to go to a historically black institution?
I'll take a stab at it first. I went to a predominantly white institution. I'm a graduate of the University of Maryland at College Park. And I'm from West Virginia originally, so my goal was to go to a bigger metropolitan area to school. But I would say, no matter what institution you go to, there are student organizations, there's alumni organizations, there are organizations outside of school, maybe in your industry, professional organizations. You can meet people at conferences. There's so many ways to meet people. And even through like LinkedIn, sometimes we think about you have to meet somebody in person. Sometimes it's reaching out to someone virtually that might be in your field or area of interest, and you don't have the connection of you went to the same school. I think there's so many opportunities to just meet people. You just have to take a chance. And I think Lisa said earlier, most people will say yes if you reach out to them and say, hey, I'm really interested in X, Y, Z. Would you be interested in some kind of mentor relationship? I'd like to learn from you because I saw this in your profile or your career history. So just think outside the box. Like, don't box yourself in and think, it has to be somebody from my school or, from where I'm from. There's so many ways to meet people. And I think if you just think outside the box and use all of the opportunities in professional conferences, organizations, all of that, you're broadening your network.
Okay, I see we got one more question here.
Yes, I guess
we got one question here on the screen.
Yes, I guess the participants do not want the question and answer to end. There was a question about, is it okay to have multiple mentors and multiple sponsors? Sometimes, does it look good to have one or 30? What does that look like having, just one mentor, having multiple mentors and sponsors in your corner?
Remember that we said that you got to put in the work. And you got to make the time. So I'm going to put that question back on you and say, do you have time to have multiple mentors and multiple sponsors? It's great to get perspectives and help from a variety of people. That just gives you more to think about and more to activate on. You have to really understand what your bandwidth is and how many mentors that you can really invest in a relationship with.
Good point. I see one more question here, and then I have one that was raised of me earlier before we began by a student who I talked to earlier. You see this question?
Yes. If you have a good relationship with your manager, would that be able to help you transition from a mentor to finding a sponsor through your manager's reference?
I think so. I mean, honestly, a sponsor sometimes is somebody that has interacted with you, whether it's on a project or it could be in the office, or they've heard about you from your manager, your performance. I feel like sponsors is a relationship that is really performance driven, meaning they're going to put their name behind making sure you get to that next level career. And so there has to be something that is demonstrated to them that you have what it takes to make it to that next level. So sponsors are a little bit trickier because it's not necessarily somebody you can identify, but through your work performance, your work ethic, the way you carry yourself, how you treat people, if you build relationships and build rapport, that will bring sponsors to invest in you and see something in you that they want to put their name behind and say, I've seen Sheena in action. I think she'd be a great project manager. I've seen her lead, and so that's what it really does. So you got to show up and you got to perform and you got to demonstrate that you want that next level role and career, and opportunities will come your way. And yes, your manager is definitely can be used as a strong resource to advocate for you on your behalf, but also get the feedback from your manager about what it might take, whether it's some development opportunities or some stretch opportunities that you might need to transition into another role. They should definitely be an advocate and ally for your career progression and development. So yes, definitely leverage your manager.
I will say that I have people who worked with me 3, 4, or 5 jobs ago that are still coming to me asking me to sponsor them for new opportunities. I sponsored someone who worked for me in 1999. So I think if someone knows your work and has stayed in contact with you and continues to know about you, they can still step up and sponsor you. And managers are always a great sponsor because they really understand your value.
Great. Here's one question that was sent to me earlier today for our mentors. When mentoring mentees, how are you able to share with them when they are so adamant about, and this relates to internships, when they're so gung-ho on getting paid internships, when volunteer opportunities may be the best opportunity and pathway for them to really stick in the industry? How are you able to share with them that of long-term value, those may be the best pathways?
I
I can
guess I can
speak on
start.
that.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No,
No,
you
I'll
first.
defer.
Okay,
Okay.
tag team.
So, yeah, just personally speaking, some of my biggest career moves came from opportunities where I initially volunteered without any end goal of wanting it to turn into a career. It just was something that I was passionate about. And I think that goes back to some of the slides we shared earlier. Right. Identify your areas of strength. Identify areas where you have inherent passions, and individuals in that space are going to see that energy that you bring to that endeavor. And it's very natural for them to want to see you succeed in that space. And so, I have an English degree, but my career went in a totally different direction because of sponsors pulling me and challenging me to grow in areas that I didn't even see myself in when I was in college, right? So I do think that the volunteerism allows you to explore your strengths without that expectation of compensation. And then your natural strengths, those natural linkages will occur with people that will eventually become sponsors for you. And it could potentially grow into a career opportunity, but don't short sight yourself based on just income. Someone told me years ago, don't let money be a motivator. And I can honestly say that that's been a difference maker in the way that my career has progressed.
Chris, I think you're absolutely right. And Dewey, and particularly from an athletic standpoint, walk-ons, free agents, they exhibit so much passion for what they to do. And passion, is something that you can't fake. and it's contagious, and it can be very impressive.
There you go. Well, listen, panelists and Sheena and Mr. Thompson, again, or scholars, I need you to answer in the chat in emoji from what you got from that Q&A. And I'm going to pause for a minute while you put your favorite emoji in there. I put the fire emoji in the chat that we have going already because it is really that candid of a conversation. I don't know that many spaces where you can go and get this level of leadership that's going to answer questions this candidly. And so, again, I'm going to give it a moment here as folks kind of populate items. We're getting smiley faces here. We're getting someone mountain climber. I love that. We're getting stars in the eyes here. Hollywood. I love it. I love it. This just really, really helps. Panelists, as we close things out here, want to give each of you all, and a celebratory one as well, want to give each of you all an opportunity to share some homework. What's something that you want folks to take away from today? And I'm going to keep you on the screen here with this one if we can, because I'd like to have each of you all spotlighted as you're sharing. And who am I going to pick on first? I'm picking on Shalane Carter. And Shalane, you get to pick who is next. Give them some homework. Give them a closing thought. And you're front and center. It's you on the screen, friend. Go for it.
Thanks, Julie. So I was saying my closing thought and homework. I'd say get started. No better day than today, this weekend. Take time, think through what are your career goals? What are your aspirations? What are you passionate about? What do you want to learn from somebody? And find a mentor, reach out to them. And then I would also say, I want to challenge all of you, return the favor someday. Look back, pull somebody else along, be a mentor to someone else. Even in the stage and age that you're at in life right now, there's somebody looking up to you that can learn from you. So you could be a mentor to somebody else right now and you don't even realize it. So find a mentor and then look back and be a mentor. And I'm going to pick Lisa because she's on my screen.
Love it. We love it.
If I can get off mute, you can pick me. I had a leader one time that talked a lot about time management and how important time management was. And one of his points that he liked to make when he was leading people through a conversation about time management was to look at your schedule, look at what you have booked, and that should tell you what your priorities are. And so if you don't see the work that you need to do for yourself to support your development and growth in your schedule, if you don't see some time dedicated to that through conversations with a mentor, through attending a networking event, through spending some time watching some TED Talks, schedule it. Make the time, because what happens is your day gets filled with all sorts of other things. You are one Netflix binge away from absolutely forgetting about your own development. So make sure that you are scheduling the time. Put it down. Make the space for yourself. You are your most important asset.
Lisa Sullivan, ladies and gentlemen. You got the magic wand, friend. You get to pick next.
I am gonna pick Ayanna, I guess.
So we know who's going last, Chris.
All right, I'll go. Yeah, Chris will close it out. One of the things I will say, well, actually, I have a couple of things to say, and I'll try and keep it very brief, is when you are your best advocate. You know what you've done, you know where you've come from, and you know where you're going better than anybody else on this panel, or better than anybody else that's in your environment. So as you're trudging through college, as you're thinking about, okay, I'm going through, finishing up my sophomore year, I'm finishing up my junior year, I'm getting ready to graduate, take some time to just stop for a minute and just congratulate yourself. You are making it through some of the most fun years you'll ever have, but some of the most tough years that you'll ever have. And so you're learning so many skills, you're developing so many new things about yourself that you should really take the time to really celebrate along the way. And that will help you as you're transitioning into the next phase of your career, because you know what you've done. You can confidently speak to it. When somebody else says, tell me about yourself, you're able to rattle it off right then and there, because you've taken the time to really think about that and then to celebrate your successes. The second thing I will say is, in this world of influence, social media influence, becoming an influencer, this hustle mentality, that if you're sleeping more than 2 hours or 4 hours a day, then somebody is going to pass you by. That's not true. You need to take time for yourself, for your emotional health, for your physical health. So do not feel like you are behind when you're on social media. Don't feel like you have to post all of these great things on social media for people to believe in you. I think give yourself grace along the way, because you're going to make mistakes, and that's where you really will grow. So those are my two things. Chris, close it out.
All right. So I'll say first, do your job, but manage your career. People care less about how much you know until they know how much you care. So do what's next and connect with someone here on the call. We're all on LinkedIn. You have our profile information there. And let's connect and get this party started.
All right. Panelists, great information. Let's come, you guys can come on camera for a minute. Let's salute our amazing panelists that are out there. All kinds of love for you guys on that side. And to a person, they're happy to have additional discussions with you. Inbox them if you didn't get an opportunity to present a question real time. Inbox our panelists here, and confident that they will continue the conversation. again, every one of these webinars is a little different, team. And this one, I think, was just really 100. It was a buck. That's what the kids say, right? It was a buck. This was a real kind of a conversation. And I think one that I'm able to take some action items home from. And I think that others will be able to continue to grow and develop in other areas as well. So panelists, I'm just appreciative of you all, and just thanks so much for the great information that you shared. Hey, we're going to jump over to some reminders as we close things out here for today. From the reminders perspective, and we always joke about this, right? We now got 2 in the can. We've gotten 2 of our webinars completed. And don't forget, and I dropped this into the chat just a little bit earlier, you can actually go out and visit the MEAC YouTube channel. And this is the MEAC Digital Network. And so I've dropped that into the chat. I'm going to put that in here one more time. That's actually the location where you'll be able to find the playback for all of these sessions. So special thanks to the scholar that asked about the playback. You can access those to the MEAC Digital Network on YouTube. Give us, let's call it 7 days or so. Again, we're getting some things prepared for the conference tournaments that are coming up for the men and women's side. So give us a little bit of extra time there, but you'll be able to access the playback. And do us a favor, when you access the playback, send it to a friend. If you glean something from today's conversation, if one of our panelists shared something, go ahead and mention them on LinkedIn, mention the MEAC, certainly if you choose mention Wells Fargo, and throw that comment onto your LinkedIn channels there, or share a spotlight of something that you learned from today's session or from any of the prior sessions that you tune into. So again, you'll see all the breakouts that we have here. Budgeting, money management, great session for us last time. Obviously, mentors and sponsors of the personal brand here. We'll spend a little bit of time in March with kind of a 1-2 punch. I'm going to go back to that slide just for a moment. We'll have a 1-2 punch focused on resume writing and the interviewing skills. So we're combining those 2 sessions. In the past, those have been independent sessions. So it's going to be a chock full 90 minutes of time there. And then in April, we'll talk about the graduate school process, bringing on some folks that have been there and have done it and have earned those advanced degrees. You know, we got to talk about the gig economy, the side hustle space, and the protecting the bag or securing the bag. We are really excited about a conversation that goes a little more towards elder fraud prevention, but also keeping in mind some of the things that you all as scholars and young investors need to be thinking about relative to securing and protecting the bag and your bag. Really important topics there. And it'll actually be a new topic here for us for 2024. And on the next slide, our biggest one of the year. Listen, I want 3,000 registrants for July 25th webinar. 3,000. I believe that we can do it with your support of the folks that are tuning in here. Let's fill those lines for a real discussion around career pathways. Please keep in mind, when Ayanna and other partners from the team come back, they're going to be talking about 2025 internships. The ship has somewhat sailed for opportunities for this year on the internship side, but there's a lot of focus now on the go forward. And for those seniors that are out there, we haven't forgotten about you. We're going to talk about those opportunities that you can have once you move the tassel from one side to the other and graduate for those that are finishing. So, and then it's the later portion of the year, once we're back on campus in the fall, some discussions around success strategies for college and being able to fund things on those areas. Social media smarts, one of our favorite sessions of the year. Our buddy Gary Sims will be back joining us for that particular session. And that's another one where you got to put your seatbelt on because it's a real kind of a conversation. In October, we'll unbox credit and talk about credit matters that matter. And then we'll be bringing back maybe Chris and certainly Wanda K. Brady, and maybe we're even going to get Chuck Bishop connected in to a great discussion on the pathway to home ownership. I would encourage everyone, if you get a free minute, just jump onto the internet. You can do a quick search for the name Chuck Bishop, and you'll see a very interesting news story where he talks about his mother, his family member, and how she rented for a number of years and how much that actually cost her during the time that she was renting. And this is an important piece that we want to make sure that everyone knows about, the importance of ownership in the spaces for those that have the ability to do that. So an important topic. And again, we'll unpack that when we get to November. Hey, last but not least, we want to touch on a couple of resources to stay in touch. The talent community, please, you'll see this information on the next slide. Get connected there. Click on that QR code. It's going to take you out to a page where you can upload a copy of your resume, you can share some of your information, and even specify, I think, lines of business that are of interest to you. So please utilize that talent community, utilize the QR code there to stay connected to us. Many of you always say, hey, I'm interested in establishing a banking relationship in some way, shape, or form with Wells Fargo. I don't have a checking account today. How do I go about doing that? It's simply a QR code scan away. Scan this. This will actually take you to the page where you can identify branches that are in your local markets and regions to be able to sit down with a banker that can address the financial needs that are top of mind for you. So please utilize that resource and then give us feedback after you've had those conversations, especially if there are things that were especially stood out for you in a good way, or things that we need to continue to adjust there with those engagements. And last but not least, the LifeSync portal is another really good one. I think this one points to a news story that ran recently spotlighting the LifeSync portal. We have something like 69 million customers across the globe, and a significant number of those actually utilize our online banking resources there. And that LifeSync tool can be another great tool in your toolbox that can be very, very helpful for you. Hey, with that said, we're right at the half-hour mark here with things. It's been a great 90 minutes. The final slide will just give you some reminders around our next session, which will be coming up for us in March. And remember, this is going to be that 1-2 punch with the combination of interviewing and resume writing kind of all sandwiched into one. So join us on Thursday, March the 28th, as we unpack that discussion. And to do us a favor, invite a friend, again, to review the content that we've shared today, or to go back and plan to join us in March. I wish everyone a wonderful rest of your February. Got a few days left in Black History Month here with things. And so please continue to enjoy and celebrate there. Stay safe. Let's finish strong as our semesters are starting to wind down. We got midterms and things happening now. Let's continue to stay strong on the things that we need to do academically. Let's continue to leverage the opportunities that we have on campus, and let's look for those opportunities to mentor and to be mentored, and to sponsor others. Panelists, thank you all so much. MEAC Nation, we love you guys. Stay safe. We'll see you next month. Good night, everybody.